guys, version 0.6 of QuestManager is now out. It's available on GitHub. Grab it. So for today I wanted to go over like how to use it. So I want to go over each node and what each node does. And also I've already started working on version 6.2, and that will be for Godot 4.2. Because they just released it to beta 1, and that changes up a lot of the graph edit and graph nodes features and functions. It actually doesn't work with version 4.2 right now, so let's get into it. So start off, this is a quest node. You could add it in anytime you want. So quest node, this is the main node that you connect everything to. And for example, you give it a name, what the quest is called, and then you give it a description. And that's pretty much it for now. And you have a group node, just a string that you connect to the quest. And you could use it for filtering. So you could have multiple quests with the same group name. And let's go to action step. This is just a regular step like kill an enemy, and it would be set to true. You just put the description, and that's all it really needs. And then moving on, you have an incremental step, like maybe collect 10 apples, for example. So you have a description here, and then the item name if you want to have a specific item. But normally you have to put one here. Again, the amount, put 4, 5, 6, the amount you want there. Next, we have an item step. This is kind of like a action step, but it has multiple steps, if you want to call it that, and they could be done in any order. For example, let's select all these and remove them. So you add a description here, and then you add the items. Let's just go item 1, item 2, and item 3. And the name, add it, item 2, then item 3. In the manager autoload script, this just checks to make these set to be true or false, or true by default. I'll go over those in a minute. Next, we have a callable step. So this calls a function on whatever script you have autoloaded. So you put in the autoload's name. So in this case, I have QuestManager and I have a test function there. Then you have a timer step now. Set a description as usual. Let's do that. Set a description. We put in the time, minutes, and seconds. And then we could tell it if it should be a timer or a stopwatch. So for example, a timer counts down and the stopwatch counts up. And then you could tell it to fail on timeout or complete on timeout. For example, if you want to survive for 10 seconds, complete on timeout instead of fail on timeout. And in other cases, whenever you want to fail on timeout, you have to call update quest to come to the next step instead of failing. So on complete on timeout, this jumps to the next step whenever the timer is done. Alright. Next one is a branch step. So this is new for 6.0 or 0.6. So basically you could in the quest manager have a function to tell it to branch or not. I had a whole bunch of like checks here before, but I got rid of them to make it simpler. So now you just tell it to branch or not. Let me pull up the quest manager script itself. And you could go down to here, sense branch step. I'll come back to this in a bit. Basically, you're telling it to branch or not. So you have to check if the step is a branch step first, and then you're telling it if you want it to branch. That basically just, jumps to this instead. So if it doesn't branch, the quest will complete. And if it does branch, it will go to this new step. And then after you do this step again, go to complete. This is just another action. Now we have a metadata node and a reward node. These are similar, but one is for the quest, and the metadata is just extra data you could add to the quest. And each step can be given metadata. For example, say you want to have a position where you want this to take place, you could pass that as a metadata. Maybe a string or a actual vector 3 or vector 2 position. Apart from that, the rewards node, this is connected only to the quest. So whenever this quest gets completed at the end node, a signal is passed, and it passes all the values that are inside this quest. So you could pass in anything you want here. So coins, maybe could have you know, a new item to pass a string and an ID for the item, stuff like that. Right, so we could run that test scene now. I didn't even go over the interface yet, so it's not that much. So up here you have new, to create a new quest. Could open a quest. So I have a all nodes quest. This is what we're looking at now. And I have a save, so we could save it if it's already saved, or we could save it as a new quest. Or over here now we have all the nodes that we could add, and we also could right click to do that same thing. Then we can test the scene here. So test this scene that we created, this file that we created. We could check for a version if we have a new version out. And we could also show IDs. So the save system uses IDs, so you could see exactly what's being saved. So we could actually look at that. So let's go here, open that test file, examples and all nodes. You could actually see the data here. You can't change it here, but you could just view it. So for example, we have a quest data. This is what the Quest Manager uses when you're in game. You pull data from here, but the editor data is for just editing the quest here. So if I disconnect this, for example, this will still get saved in the editor data, but it won't get saved on the quest data because it assumes there's nothing here. That makes sense. Right, so now let's test that scene out. So go here, run scene. So here we have the available quest, and this is just that one test quest that we have in here. Could also add more. Have this, for example, quest test, and then this shows the name of the quest, the description, and then the steps. But it's currently unordered, so just add this brackets. That's not in order here. I'm thinking to add a sort thing to just sort it out for you, but as of right now it's not sorted. So next, rewards. So we have the coins 100. We can view the quest metadata. That's all that stuff I added in just the test. Then when we accept the quest now, I make it go over to the player quest. Here we could go through it. So first we could complete this step. Then for an incremental step, we need 3 items. So let's add 1. So we have 1, then we add 2. And that's completed. Now step 3 is a item step. So you basically need to complete all 3 of these. Then that completes that step. Now you jump to step 4 with the timer step. So if I don't finish this, if I don't click complete before the timer, it would go over. Oop. And there it goes. Quest was complete. That was over here. Accidental did some. So let's try that again. So let's delete this quest. Could add it again. Because of testing purposes, I just allow you to delete the quest from the player quest. Then accept again. Let's go through really quick. That. Add the 3 here. Delete these. Delete this step. And now we're on the branch step. So we didn't get to see that before. I was spamming it before the timer runs out. So now if we branch, we go down to this step. If we just click complete, we just complete. So branch. Now we're down to the alternate step. And that's that there. It's tiny, but one step and then complete. Alright, that's it. So for the quest manager, go on there. That's one huge script that you could track everything with. So basically this just allows you to access and progress the quest, but it's up to you how you want to progress the quest. Let me show you an example here. So you have all these signals that get called. So quest complete, quest failed, step complete, step updated. So for example, an action step would get called here. Step updated would get called for maybe an incremental step. You add more items to a to that step, you know, it'll count as okay, you had one more, and it updates that. So it passes the information back to the through the signal. Let's go back down to this one. New quest added. That's obvious what that does. Just tell you what new quest you added. And then you could reset the quest. And these are all the steps that we have here as constants. Actually, so these are the names that are actually stored for each step type. And then the end would be for completing the quest. Then you have a helper function here. Helper variable, I mean, sorry. This just sets what active quests you're tracking. So you could just maybe put the name on the quest here and it just tracks it. You use it instead of typing out the quest name every time. Then you have a quest resource. This is the quest resource that you created in the editor. So you would load it in and then grab a quest from it. And then the player quest. This is every quest that the player has currently. So you're adding quests to this actual variable dictionary. And this counter is just for the timer step. I'll get over to that soon. Okay, so get quest from resource. You use that to grab a quest by the name and you pass the resource to it. And then if you look inside this resource here, this is where quests are stored. When you create a quest and save it, all the quests get stored in here. You have a quest data and editor data that you saw up top before. And guys, we can get quests by name. You could get quests. This returns all the quests. Or remember, you create that group. Could check if it's in the group and then add it to the quest. Then return that quest, all of those quests that are in the group. Or just return the entire quest. So this is where I was trying to work on. Get steps sorted. I haven't actually used it, but I just put it in here just in case. Next, let's go back in the quest manager. Now we could add quests. Remember, this one, it doesn't get the quest, but it just allows you to like view it, for example. You're not actually adding it to the player. So for example, if you in your UI, you would want to list all the quests, stuff like that. Now add quest actually adds the quest to the player's quest. So you check which quests you have, if you have it loaded as current quest. So this function here loads the quest in. So in this case, you could either pass the quest resource, or if you know you loaded one already, you could just pass the name only, since it's already checking the quest's current resource. And it adds it to the player, its ID, pulls this data out, and now you have that data inside the player quest. You could always change it and do whatever you want with it. Now, let's just skip a few of these and go down to the progress quest. So this is one of the main functions. You call this whenever you want to progress the quest. You have to call this manually. So for example, if you're in an action step, you call this and pass the quest name to it, and it automatically completes it. So completed right here. It's already set to true by default. And it actually check what's the step you're currently on, and then it check what type of step it is. So if it's an action step, it completes it. So get current step ID complete equals completed. That's it. I say step complete, emit, get current step ID. What this does, it returns the next step in the chain, not the current one that just got complete. That might sound confusing, but that's what that does. Okay, and so that's for action step. All the other steps do different stuff. So for example, incremental step counts, adds the amount that you pass to it here. So string, the item name, and then the amount. Then item step, similar. You pass the item name and it sets it to true if it's completed. And remember, it can have multiple items. And it checks for missing items. If there's no missing items, it completes the step. Timer steps now. That one has a different thing going on. So in the process function, we have a counter. And we're checking for all the quests that has a timer and has a timer step, and they're both on that step, and they're currently active, I guess. So they increment all of them, or decrement, depending on what type of timer it is. So is the countdown. It counts up. You could check the documentation for like everything that you need to learn, I guess, for all these steps. Guys, it's a really large thing to cover. I was planning to do this in multiple videos, but oh well. Then branch step now. Check if the branch, if it should branch. If it's false, it goes to the next step. If it shouldn't, then it gets the alternate step. Or if it should, it goes, you know what I mean. Now, go back up here. So that branch step, this is what you call. So for example, if you should do something and you didn't do it, you could call this function to branch it. Then there's plenty of other things to go over, but I don't want this video to be too long. You could even add scripted quests. I'll leave that for another video. It's gonna take a while to explain. And then there's a lot of functions that I used, so has quests and stuff like that I used inside of here. And you could check if a quest is complete. You get the current step. That's what we call inside the progress quest here. You can even use it if you want, depends. Then remove quest. You also have a reset quest down here. It sets all the values back to default. So completed, false, failed, false, ID, clear, first step. So let's go over the actual, let's look at one of the examples here again. All different example quests, for example. So this has 2 quests in here. You can see they're by IDs. And this one was called Meal for the Family, I think. Where is it? Oh, this was Shoot 'em Up. And you have examples here. You could actually play them. What I wanted to show is you have a next ID. So this gets updated every time the quest progresses. So it pulls that and set it to the next ID, if that makes sense. So you could always save this and come back to it, reload it and come back. And then first step is important. So this resets, this is what you use to reset the quest if you want to start over again. So it sets back the next ID to be the first step. That's what it is by default. And then you could ignore these size and position. These are for the editor. I'm planning to get rid of them though, to make just the important stuff be in the quest data. The editor data just stores literally everything in the scene, but quest data actually does a lot of logic to track stuff. Apart from that, Godot 4.2 came out, so I need to update this to be supported. So in the experimental version, I just updated this to be support 4.2, and it's in beta, so I'm planning to maybe merge them together because not a lot of people are using the plugin so far yet, but since it's not that popular or anything yet, I think I should just merge it to 4.2. And the developers told me that it's not a major update, so I should just go ahead and do it. But for now, well, 4.2 is in beta. Look at that real quick. It's in beta, so I won't update it yet until it's stable. And that's it. I know it's a long video, but oh well. If you guys have any questions, ask in the comments. And that's it for this tutorial. Take care, guys. That tutorial, I'm not sure. I'll make a proper video like making a quest, doing the whole shebang, I guess. But take care.